What's up, guys? It's Johnny Candido of Candido Training
HQ!
And in today's video I'm going to talk about a very controversial issue among the powerlifting community, and that is equipped powerlifting versus raw powerlifting. And first of all, what I need to get out of the way is to establish exactly what raw powerlifting is, because this actually is a source of a lot of confusion, and I know a lot of people who are subscribed to my channel don't necessarily follow the in and outs of powerlifting specifically. So when we look at what raw powerlifting actually is, we have to recognize that this is completely up to the powerlifting federation that you compete in. That's what establishes the definition of raw. And it's important to understand that this varies from federation to federation. So generally what you will see is that typically raw powerlifting means with a belt on the back squat, for example, a belt and knee sleeves are allowed, and that's it. However, what you'll see is with some federations, knee wraps are allowed. So what you'll usually see is that people who do compete in these federations, when they post a squat video, they usually say it's raw with wraps. That's the easiest way to make sure it's clear to everyone. Probably the most popular powerlifting meet in the world that has this raw with knee wraps division is Raw Unity. And that's where the world record over 1,000-pound squat was performed. And you'll see a lot of amazing lifters competing in this specific division. So besides that, the IPF, which I've talked about, and I'll have a link in the description to that video where I argue a case for it, for why I support it, they do not allow knee wraps for their raw division. So for me personally, I could not wear knee wraps. Now knee sleeves are allowed, and there's a lot of controversy over the SBD knee sleeves, if they actually add weight or not. And that's not going to be a topic I'm going to really go into in this video. But they do allow knee sleeves, and some people do argue it adds a small amount of weight, but either way it's not going to be comparable to knee wraps. Okay, so now that we've established what raw powerlifting is, let's go a little bit on the other side and look at equipped powerlifting, where there's an important distinction that needs to be made. And that's the fact that single ply powerlifting, which is what you see in the IPF equipped division, is very different from multi-ply powerlifting, which is more of what you see at Westside Barbell Club do. And this is important because there's way less support from single ply, and what you'll see is there's a way greater carryover from single ply lifters versus raw lifters. And this is the case where you see a guy like Brett Gibbs competes both equipped and unequipped. And then you'll see multiple people do this, because the biggest thing is that in single ply with the IPF, you can still hit proper depth within the suit. And when it comes to multi-ply, it is kind of a strange situation, because from what I've heard, obviously I don't have hands-on experience with this, but from what I've heard, it's almost impossible for them to hit depth even if they tried. Or they would lose a lot of control, and it might be risky with the amount of weight they're handling. So that's a big difference there, and that kind of explains some of the differences when it comes to opinions on depth, is really it comes down to the equipment they're using. So this gets into my opinion on all this, and really I have 2 points to make. The first one is when it comes to multi-ply powerlifting, I don't have any hate for this. I don't think that we should bash on it all the time just because it's equipped. I think what we should do is when it comes to the back squats, the problem I had in the IPF video where I talked about is the fact that it's just not following the rules when it comes to depth. If you literally state in your rule book something specific that has to be hip crease below the knee and it's not, then that starts to hurt the credibility of the federation and in return hurt the credibility of the sport as a whole. So I would just like them to change the rules, and then I personally would have no problems with it. And then when it comes down to my next point, that's on the fact of how people talk about their lifts and how they label it when they put videos up, for example, is the fact that I would just wish people would say the fact that it is equipped. And the reason for this is because if you don't mention it's equipped, then it's hard to distinguish from raw powerlifting to equipped, and it makes equipped seem like the norm, and it makes people not understand from the outside what exactly powerlifting is. They don't know, why does this guy have a suit on, what's going on, and then it becomes unrelatable. And then when it comes to appealing to everyone, like just athletes, CrossFitters, bodybuilders, they're not going to want to use equipment. They're just going to want to focus on raw strength. So that's why, in my opinion, raw powerlifting has the greatest potential. And that's why I'll always be a raw powerlifter, and I've never considered equipment in my life and never will. However, what I do want to say is the fact that I don't actively hate on equipped powerlifting, and especially IPF single ply powerlifting. I personally have no problem with that. And I think a lot of people don't understand that single ply is so much different from multiply, as I said before. I've noticed a lot of the single ply lifters are now starting to experiment more with raw lifting as well. And what you'll see is that the IPF World Classic meet actually was not created that long ago. I think it's literally only 3 years into it. Alright, that's it guys. Even if you strongly disagree with me and you do not like the IPF at all, and you're an untested powerlifter, let's say, the fact that we're both a part of the raw movement within the sport, in my opinion, helps grow it immensely. And that's going to be the key to pushing it further than it is right now into the future. And I think it's already happening. And I want to say again that I'm not against equipped powerlifting, especially single ply IPF equipped powerlifting. But I just think that this raw movement is going to be the key. It's going to be the key so that people understand exactly how strong some of these lifters are and how incredible some of these feats are. Alright, that's it guys. Make sure to like the video, support the channel, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching guys. Peace!